Hello, my name is Valerie James. I am a 13-year Army veteran, proud Army veteran. I'm also the CEO and founder of VAST, Veteran Advocate Services and Training. I'm very proud that we are one of the only nonprofits that deals with justice-involved veterans. We work in the jails and outside with our veterans who have backgrounds to get them from homelessness to housed to sobriety and mental health. Today, I am here with our vast community of people. I'm here with Judge Jason of the Veteran Treatment Court, Lucy Gonzalez, who is one of the vast board members, Carlos, hello, can you see me? Padillo, who is also a vast board member, and Robert Green, who is one of the vast navigators. How y'all doing this evening?
Doing good.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Cool.
Thank you.
Favor, good people, would y'all mind going around and taking, I guess, 2 minutes, and let's see who we're dealing with here. Carlos, you go first, please.
Carlos Polito with Adaptive Construction Solutions. It's my company here. We work with a lot of reentry veterans, as well as other veterans and other populations, but with really a strong focus on the veteran population. I am a veteran myself of the Marine Corps for 8 years. So I'm very, very happy, very proud to be on the board with VAST and to work with this community.
Awesome. Thank you. Go ahead. Let's go with Robert Green.
Yes, my name is Robert Green. I am a Marine. I served 4 years in the Marine Corps. I was incarcerated, and through my incarceration, I have affiliated myself with this program, and this program has been truly phenomenal as far as helping me get myself back together and getting my life back on track.
we're going to hear some amazing things. Well, we're going to hear some things from Robert as far as how he's doing right now. Robert, would you mind telling us about, I appreciate what you just said about VAST, but tell us what you're doing right now.
Right now, I currently am an entrepreneur. I have my own business. My company's name is Accelerate Pressure Washing. And what we do is we clean roofs, we wash homes, we clean pathways, we do patios, we do decks. This is a startup business. I've only been in business for a year. And since I've been in business, things have truly been great and phenomenal. And I'm just truly excited about my entrepreneurial journey.
Okay, all right. Miss Lucy Gonzalez, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lucy Gonzalez. I've been working with veterans for 37 years. I'm a proud veteran advocate. I was raised by a World War II Korean vet, Army and Air Force, and I am also the Director of Communications of VAST, and proudly so, working side by side with Miss CEO Valerie James. My goal is to continue her mission and vision in outreach to our veterans and helping them restore their life by helping one veteran at a time. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you. Judge Luong.
Hi, good evening. This is Judge Leung. I am the presiding judge for Veterans Treatment Court. Veterans Treatment Court is a specialized court that was created under Judge Mark Carter to address felony cases or veterans who have felony cases rather than send them to prison or through the traditional justice system to provide connection with them to treatment, especially with those who have addiction issues and for offenses that are connected to their service-related disability. Usually we deal with veterans who have PTSD, who have felony level driving while intoxicated cases or aggravated assault. At any given time, I think we have up to 40 people in the program. It's been a tremendous program. And we have this same court for misdemeanor level offenses as well. And we service all of Harris County, and it's an award-winning court, great staff. But our goal is to connect veterans who are in the justice system with a program that allows them to be productive members and, more importantly, to address their criminal cases without simply going to prison.
All right. Listen, I'm curious. I want to just ask a few questions. Like, everyone here deals with some portion of veterans and reentry services. Do you think where we are right now is successful, or do you think it definitely needs some improvement?
You know, I'll jump in on that, and it's really a loaded question. What we're doing now is successful. I can tell you that firsthand. Working through veteran courts at the very beginning with Judge Carter. What is happening now is definitely successful. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. And I think that is what this community is really about, and getting everybody involved to get on the same page so that we can continue to improve the process and enrich the lives of those individuals that we're serving.
Thank you, Carlos. Who else wants to chime in?
I'll chime in for a second. I think exactly what Carlos said, that we're doing great work, but it should greatly be expanded. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't have a veteran involved in my court, where we have to talk with them. And, the process to get into veterans court takes a while, and there's limited capacity, but a lot of veterans need assistance that don't always immediately qualify for a veterans court, or they're homeless and they need immediate assistance for housing, for job training, for all these things. It's definitely improved than what it has been in the past, but there's definitely capacity to get veterans more access, especially to housing. What I find recently is that a lot of veterans, even to qualify for veteran assisted housing, they've got to fill forms out online. If you don't have a place to stay, where are you logging into, right? I mean, cell phone service is a luxury for most of us, but most places, even for homeless shelters, you've got to go, it's first come, first serve. You got to be there basically at 7 o'clock in the morning to even get a spot for a bed, and it's a day to day. So you can imagine trying to navigate a bureaucracy to get assistance where you don't have a solid place to live and you don't have ready access to the internet at any given time.
So those facilities, so you get there at 7. Am I correct? They put you out in the evening, right? Or is it the evening?
Well, you know, after the, I think what it is day to day. Like in the morning, it's a re-roll for who gets spots. You know, I remember I try to help people get into a homeless shelter before, and all of them, you know, they're at capacity, especially in the winter months. You got to be there. There's very limited long-term homeless housing. I mean, usually it's got to be for a specialized group like elderly individuals. You might qualify, but it's several months before you get in. But for homeless, there is some veteran assistance programs, but you've got to make sure they can get connected. Like Camp Hope has a lot of great housing, but that's just for men. Right now, it's just for men. But so there's definitely more capacity for need for services in the community at this point.
I appreciate it. Anyone else want to chime in? Robert?
Valerie, I would like to
go ahead, Lucy, please. Sorry.
I just want to say VAST is off to a good start with what they've done currently, what they've done in the past, and where they're headed to in the future. I really do see that, you know, the progress that we've made and where we're going. Of course, it can use improvement just because, like the judge said, it's just growing leaps and bounds of what is needed out there, and VAST bringing awareness to all.
Listen, Lucy, I'm not sure what happened. We lost you.
Oh, I don't know. Can you hear me now, Val?
We can hear you now. Yes.
I was just saying that where VAST has been and where it is now currently and where it's going to is just broaden the horizons for others to see in the community what we're capable of and what the demand is. And I think it's the growth potential is there. And with growth potential and need, you're going to see us needing to increase the awareness more so with more volunteers and more people joining forces with us in the community to continue the mission.
Thank you. And thank you, Lucy. And Robert, I saw you put your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to say that I experienced the program first and foremost firsthand. And while I was there, it was only short-lived, but upon my release from Harris County Jail, I was united with Auntie and Jennifer Herring, which is part of the Reentry division. And they were able to help support me as far as finding me somewhere to stay. They were able to help me as far as getting me leads on jobs. So the program has really, truly been phenomenal. It has allowed me to be able to meet extraordinary people like yourself, Valerie. It has allowed me the opportunity to be able to be a part of this broadcast, which is really, truly phenomenal for me, especially going through in my life. So I give the utmost respect to the program and situation that I've been through. This program is truly, truly going to help them, give them the things they need in order to be able to be successful at another opportunity in life.
Oh, well,
thank you, Valerie.
I appreciate it. I know as far as the situation with housing, that is one of the biggest issues that we're experiencing right now. Especially when it comes to housing a female who has children. There are very few places, I believe the Santa Maria Hostel and maybe Mission of Yahweh, that's it. And once, like the judge said, once they hit capacity in the wintertime, it's difficult. It's very difficult. So one good way we can help with homelessness is to, and I'm looking for all of you to be a part of it. Robert's already doing so. We work with pre-planning. Pre-planning is the secret sauce. If before someone's released from prison, or jail, you walk in to sit with them and ask where you're going, they will go, well, I'm going home. And you're like, well, isn't that where the charges that got put against you, whether it's drugs, whatever have you, happened, battery, what happened, abuse in the first place? And they'll go, yes, because that's the only area they know. So what VAST tries to do at that point with pre-planning is to explain, well, this may not be a good fit for you. If the person was jailed 3 times for substance abuse, it would make sense to call an organization that can put them in maybe a 30-day stay for residential sobriety. If they get out and it may be something that's mental health, again, it's a place that you need to connect them before they even get out with some kind of mental health. And if the problems came while they were housed, it is so very important to send them to some kind of transitional housing. They can't even go back to that same neighborhood, especially if substance abuse is involved. So it's important. I think pre-planning, that's the study I looked at, that it's just best practices. If you do pre-planning before someone's released from jail, from incarceration, you can reduce homelessness by 84%, and you can reduce recidivism by 63%. And I have to say thank you, a special thank you to Robert, because that is something that he has been able to already make videos concerned, because, we can't go back into jail because of COVID right now, but make videos about pre-planning to the people who are still in the state of Harris County Jail right now. So thank you. My next question is, and this will be hit for Carlos. Carlos, how do you see jobs right now for veterans who are involved in reentry?
I will answer that question, I promise. I want to jump back to the previous topic on housing.
Please.
And the reason I want to jump back is, we have, there's a lot of programs, and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development have programs that are available. The issue that we see with these programs is they're very difficult to access, and they take a very long time. You see, I'm wearing an Envision Center shirt today. It's another division of what we do here. So I am the director of the Gulf Coast Envision Center for the Gulf Coast area here in Houston, which can, takes part of Houston as well. We are working directly with US HUD to identify how we can shorten the length of time that HUD-VASH can come in and really support those veterans with housing and with rapid rehousing. It's a bit of a long process right now. It goes to the VA. So we're working together, we're working in unison with HUD, with the VA, to really identify how we can do this. And, my ultimate goal, and I'm not, I don't know if it's possible or not, is to have that person here in-house at our location in Houston, so that we can easily have access to that individual that has those resources for those veterans.
Carlos, let me just interrupt for one question. Okay. Can you give a definition of what HUD is? The reason I didn't mention it, because when you're talking about someone who is homeless, HUD is a later option, because how long does it take to get into HUD currently, would you say?
So, they have a couple of different programs. Typical HUD homing vouchers, it's from what I understand, about a 30 to 120 days. So, 4 months is not really an option. The HUD-VASH program is a little bit shorter because of the veteran preference that it's designed to have. But you're still talking about, potentially 30 to 90 days. And they also have a rapid rehousing. And their rapid rehousing is meant to basically take 15 to 30 days, and it's temporary while you continue to go through the HUD-VASH system. So, again, when you're waiting 2 weeks, sometimes that's just 2 weeks. That's too long. And that's a lot of where, Adaptive Construction Solutions can come in and help support individuals specifically that are going through our programs, because Adaptive Construction Solutions will provide that immediate housing, and there's no funding that provides for that. It's something that we as a company want to do to support our veterans. So we'll get them hotel rooms for, a week or 2 weeks, just to make sure that they're not living on the streets while we're trying to provide them services. So that second question, repeat that question for me, Valerie, please.
I just want to clarify, you said your program does that, though?
Yes, we do.
Wow, and you house homeless veterans until they can reach transitional housing or get to HUD-VASH, you were saying?
So
Okay.
normally with our individuals that are coming through our program, and again, it's a very limited amount of individuals. It's an application process. It's for work ready veterans. So it's kind of the tail end of where individuals are coming through. For example, individuals that we are getting out of the Veterans Court program, when they're coming near completion of vets court, they're work ready. They're ready to go and become productive members of society. If they don't have adequate housing, or we have to ask them to travel with an employer, yes, we're going to provide that housing for them. And a lot of times the employer provides that housing to them or gives them the funding via per diem so that they can get their hotel rooms. But if the employer is not giving them per diem for hotel rooms, many times we are putting them in a hotel for 1 to 2 weeks. Now, during that 2 weeks that they're in that hotel, they're already working. We've already hired them. So now they're earning a full-time paycheck. So the expectation is you are work ready. You are now working. You're going to take some financial hygiene classes while you're with us in training, and you're going to use those funds to go secure housing for yourself. So normally that works, not always. It really depends on the situation. Unfortunately, we don't have truckloads of funding that will allow for that. And a lot of the government funding that is available is not allowed to be spent on housing because only US HUD can spend money on housing for the most part. There's a couple caveats, but we won't get to tell the caveats.
I did not know you worked that closely with the Veteran Treatment Court.
It's been a minute. Like I said, initially, back when Mark Carter was the judge, we worked very, very closely with them. And then through the changing of judges, we kind of lost. And then when COVID came about, COVID just basically ruined it, and we weren't allowed the courtrooms anymore. And well, they weren't even having court sessions in the courtrooms at that time. So it really kind of made it a lot more difficult for us to support those individuals. But we've always been there to support them. And a lot of times those veterans that are in the treatment courts find us, and we're able to support them in that way.
Carlos.
Yes,
so
sir.
How do we connect you to Veterans Court now?
I'm a phone call away.
How do we reconnect you? I mean, do you just want to log on to our dockets every 2 weeks?
Absolutely. So in the past, that's really what we did. I would just go to the court when they were still having the in-person sessions, and usually talk to the individuals before the docket actually, before the judge came out and things like that, just to give them that option and to really identify if they were at that point. Again,
what services do you provide? Housing?
So we're for the most part, we have jobs, right? And that's kind of leading into the second question. So we work with a very large amount of employers. And what these employers do is they basically give us slots. So they'll tell us, hey, Adaptive Construction Solutions, we would like to hire 10 electricians, and we're gonna pass that on to you. We want you to find us 10 work ready veterans that can be electricians on this project that we have that's a 6-year project. So we go out with those job requisitions and recruit for them. And we recruit specifically veterans for them, or, depending on whatever it is. But a lot of times it's veterans. We work with a lot of aged out foster adults, young adults, and we go and find them, and then we bring them into the program. So now they're working, and we provide them those wraparound services. So we work with Gulf Coast Workforce Solutions, who is an awesome partner with us and provides a lot of supportive services. They have funding that can provide for work boots, that can provide for tools to ensure that they are absolutely successful. They have, they can provide them fuel cards so that they can get to work every day. We are a homeless veterans reintegration program grantee from Department of Labor. So we also have some direct funding from Department of Labor that will allow for us to support veterans while they go through. And as of yesterday, Valerie doesn't even know this yet because it literally happened yesterday afternoon. We are now the first for-profit non-state entity that has been awarded a direct Department of Labor dislocated worker grant. So we were awarded dislocated worker funding that normally only goes to the states. And that's going to allow for additional supportive services. It's going to allow for additional employers to really look at what we're doing and to give us some more spots that we can fill with veterans.
Oh, yeah. What's your email address, Carlos?
I'm sorry?
What's your email address?
Oh, my email address is carlos@ACS Texas spelled out .com.
ACS
Texas. TEX.
Texas.
Carlos, what does ACS stand for again?
Adaptive Construction Solutions.
I'm going to send you an email.
Perfect. So the job market, kind of going back to Valerie's question, we're seeing a rise in the job market, which is absolutely fantastic. We have a lot of employers that are contacting us. There are a lot of projects that are starting to come back up. Again, we really focus on trying to get entry-level positions. So as veterans are transitioning from the workforce, from the military into the workforce, we can create new career paths for them. So when I say we're hiring electricians, I am willing to hire anybody with no experience. If Valerie wanted to become an electrician tomorrow, she can come into our program. We're going to train her. We're going to get her certifications. We're going to get her an apprentice license. We're going to work in collaboration with Department of Labor. Everything is through registered apprenticeship programs. And those are credentials that the individual earns. So now that we're getting these job requisitions, we're really able to start expanding and hiring more veterans. And by hiring those veterans, we're providing them those wraparound services. So those mentors and coaches that VAST is providing is also helping them on an emotional and a personal level, where the other needs that they have, with the ultimate goal of being a productive member of society. You can't be a productive member of society by yourself. You need your network. All of us sitting here on this VTC, we have our network. We are each other's network, and we work well because we have each other, and we can call each other when additional services are needed for an individual. That's the same thing with an individual. The hardest part, I think, for veterans is not having that network, not having that support element, whether it be emotional, financial, whatever the case is. So the job market's looking better. We're getting there again. I know there were some statistics that came out, I think, from Texas Workforce Commission yesterday or the day before. We're back at 6.9% here in the state of Texas, which is absolutely amazing after COVID. So we're really looking forward to getting a lot more individuals back to work.
Well, we made a connection here between the Veteran Treatment Court and ACS. Robert, I was just curious. Tell me, because you're hearing this, but you're on both sides of that fence, right? You are inside, and what would you think is the greatest need to help the veterans coming out of incarceration?
I think the greatest need to help veterans coming out would be shelter. I believe that's the most imperative thing that an individual needs to have as far as being able to reunite back out into society and be able to reunite and get back out on the right path. As long as the person has that shelter over his head, then they can go ahead and they can be able to make preparations to be able to do other things like get a job, get their driver's license, go to school, get education, do whatever it takes in order to be able to empower them to where they can be able to continue to move forward and not look back at the past and don't allow for that past to continue to plague them. I know that when I got out, one of the most difficult things that I had to overcome was employment. And, I had to get over the fear of rejection because of my background. More than likely, people are going to turn me down for jobs. So once I got over that fear of rejection and kept, going out and looking for employment each and every day, eventually somebody gave me an opportunity, and I utilized that opportunity, and I saved my money, and I did the things that I needed to do in order to be able to enhance my quality of living. Now, has it been hard? Yes, it has. But through hard work, determination, discipline, surrounding yourself around, healthy relationships, people that want to support you, they want to see you grow. Those are the people that I surrounded myself around, and I'm really grateful for, because I've really truly been able to establish a whole new group of friends, and that's truly been awesome. And I know that whenever I need them, I can call on them, and they're always there for me at any given time, any time that I need them. Thank you.
So if you don't mind me asking, what was the most difficult part for you? Where do you see that we as a community can provide the most improvement in order to kind of ease that transition?
I think that it'll afford the transition to be a lot easier for people that are incarcerated and in jail, is those resources going into the facility and helping those people to be able to prepare for their release. Because as I was going through the system, there were a lot of people are incarcerated that had deal with trying to find people to be able to see if they could parole to their houses, because they either they damaged the relationship with their families, or they didn't have anywhere to go to. So I think that with people going into the system and being able to help people find out people who don't have places to go to, try to help before they get released. So therefore, that will decrease them at thought as far as trying to figure out what they're going to eat or where they're going to stay. That would help them to be able to transition from prison right into having a roof over their head, so that they can be able to continue to follow through with their plan towards success.
You just said something and it made me want to take a note, because I want to come back with that. But as individuals are being released, I'm curious if we could start that HUD Bash program while they're still in the system, and that way they're getting a head start while they're still in. So when they get out, they have that voucher to go get housing already. And I'm not sure about the legalities of providing federal benefits to someone while they're still in prison or in jail, because a lot of times that's not allowable. But I'm curious if the benefit's not actually being provided yet. They're only applying for those benefits, if it's feasible or not. So I'm going to take that as a no, because hearing you say that just makes me want to think that it would definitely benefit individuals to have housing by the time they got out, if they could start that process early on, especially with the coach or mentor like yourself to guide them through that process. So I definitely took a note for that. And
yeah, I can chime in on just so there are 2 veteran cells existing in Harris County Jail. One of them is the original program. Jennifer Herring is the director of Reentry for Harris County Jail. She has many programs where she brings people together. Like there's one for the veteran treatment. For veterans, she brought the original 50 in 2 pods together. And within that, they get programs. They get self-esteem. They get financial classes. Now and this is why I'm stating this. There is another one, and that one is called Brothers in Arms. Brothers in Arms has 75 veterans, but that's unique because they're not in the jail. They're part of Harris County Jail, but they're in the brand new reentry building, which is basically office suites below, and the jail's up top. There's a different set of freedoms there where you really could just go up and, you get permission, they will take you in, and you can act. There's a lot more freedom in there. So that might be a place to start to check that idea out about the HUD Bash before they get out. Maybe some kind of pilot program we can talk with this week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's huge. I'm actually going to text someone at HUD. Give me a second, because I want to bring that up.
Valerie?
Yes.
I just want to say this collaboration is really awesome. You know, it takes time to even start to think about things, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And coming here this evening, just seeing everybody and listening to the stories. And Mr. Green, thank you for sharing and being open and candid and honest of what you've been through and where you're at now, and giving us your perspective, because, you know, we don't know. We weren't in your shoes, but to listen and to see how well you're doing, and we know it's been tough out there, and you're making something, is only testimonial to inspire others. So great job to you. And Carlos, just simply amazing. I could see your little brain turning, your wheels turning with your eyes, just thinking of so many things to do, and the judge just being here to take it all in, wanting to text you right away, like, I'm not getting off this without contacting them. So, you know, and that's what VAST does, right? They bring the connections together with the vision and mission from Miss Valerie James, and to see it all play out. I don't know if y'all are stepping back listening to this. I'm just absorbing all of this, and to me, it's just amazing work that's only the beginning, that we could do so much more to continue to help and really make a difference, so that one day, like Valerie says, the numbers and the percentages will be not so high that haven't been touched, but so low because the programs are working and the wheels and motions are really playing out. So
Thank you for that, Lucy. Robert, I'm actually writing down what you just said about the needs to enter the jails. So we're doing a weekly call. VAST is doing a weekly call with the Harris County Jail. The 75 veterans that are our brothers in arms. We have a call in that we do trainings with them at that point. I would really enjoy if each of you can make a commitment to speak on these calls weekly, because I think, say for instance, the judge could speak about the Veteran Treatment Court while they're incarcerated. Because remember, a lot of them that are there, they're there and then they're getting out to go see the judge. They haven't seen the judge.
Yes, if it's not, as long as it's not a conflict in both either time or because these folks may have cases in my court. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak with them without their attorneys present. That'd be the only conflict. But otherwise, I always enjoy speaking with people and hopefully provide some level of help to them to get them in the right direction.
Yeah, I think it would be. We need to do a little more before we get the judge anywhere. So that's a point. That's a point. Carlos, go ahead, Robert.
Yes, I would definitely love to. I would love an opportunity to be able to let the guys know, to be able to use the time that they're in there to invest in themselves. Look at themselves. Everybody's always trying to find that masterpiece. Well, once they begin to look at themselves as a masterpiece and be able to determine how bright, how vibrant, how much of a success they want their lives to be, when they make that decision in there and they put a plan of action together, then their opportunities for success will, I believe, will increase a whole lot more.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can definitely make that commitment as well, Valerie. You know, one of the things that I've seen a lot, especially with reentry, is just a mismanagement of expectations, and I think that getting to them earlier on and really being able to provide, you know, what is it that they can expect once they are released, because I can't tell you how many times I've had individuals, you know, walk into our center here, and they want to make $25 to $30 an hour, not realizing that they have a background. And unfortunately, that's the reality of things. And that's not going to be the reality forever. There's going to be a process. You can get things fixed. You can work with veterans, court to get things expunged if it's, allowable at that time. Obviously, different circumstances are different things. You can work with private attorneys to try to get your record expunged. And that way you can really move forward, especially when you have a very young veteran that's 21, 22 years old. They need to get that those things taken care of in order to really be able to excel in life. And I'm not saying you can't excel in life if you don't get your record expunged. There's obviously ways to do it. But if we can work together and work in unison to really give you the best option, I think that's the way to go. But it's managing those expectations. They need to understand that it's going to be difficult. And I think, just like service members, as they transition out of the military, they have this thought of how everything is going to work, right? And as soon as it doesn't work like that, they start that downward spiral into just complete emotional, distress. Managing those expectations and them knowing from the get-go that it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard. This is what you can expect to get paid, and this is where you can expect to go. But you need that as a stepping block. That's that first block that you need to get on, just to get your head above that water line. Once you're above that water line, you can see and you can look at your next goal, and you can identify those avenues of approach. I've seen it a lot where individuals don't think they have any options. They think there's only one thing that they can do, and they put forth all their effort to that one thing. And that's great, but they have to know that there's options. There's different avenues that you can take. And I'll tell them from the beginning, and I tell everybody that walks in my office, that option, that avenue, that route that I want you to take is going to be the hardest route, because it's going to give you the most. Yeah. And it's difficult, and understanding that, because they see this route and they're like, A to B is a straight line, it's flat, it's level, it's paved, I'm going to go this route. And that route is, a $15 an hour end rate for a job. You go through this route that's going through the mountains, and you're climbing the Rockies, and you're doing all of this, craziness, but you're going to end up in a $60,000, $70,000 career in 10 to 15 years. Look ahead. Don't do the easy thing right now. Do what you have to do right now, but make sure you're on that right avenue, and manage those expectations so that and you're not disappointing yourself. Once you have that expectation of what it's going to go through, or what you're going to put yourself through, you're not disappointed in yourself. Disappointing yourself is the worst thing you can do. I think we've all disappointed ourselves at some point, and it is the absolutely worst thing that you can do, because it's demotivating and it's demoralizing. But if you know it's going to be hard, and you're like, man, that was hard, I got through it, I'm ready to start this next challenge, and I know it's going to be harder, but I just did that last one, so it's okay. That's where you got to go, and that's the mentality that everybody needs to have. And I'm not talking about just reentry and veterans specifically. That's in general. Every single person just needs to have that kind of mentality. But again, being in the military, you don't have that mentality, because you're told this is what you need to do, and this is where you're going to get to, and this is what you need to do to get here, and this is what you need to do to get here, and this is who you need to listen to, and this is who you need to tell what to do. That's not the reality. We live in this alternate universe while we're in the military, and it's nothing like the reality of the real world, right? So we get out and we're trying to figure all these things out. And sometimes, we end up in a little bit of trouble. And I think most of us have ended up in a little bit of trouble. The only difference is, just like my old gunny told me, we've all done dumb things. Some of us just didn't get caught. But we learn from those things, and we realize that we can't do those things, and those things are not the right way to go about it. And luckily it was in our younger years, and that's all been, it's done, it's over with. But as mentors, us and here, we have to understand that individuals still may make poor decisions, and they may have a lapse in judgment, from time to time. And we can't just hold it against them. We have to work with them, and we have to make them understand that lapse in judgment, and make sure they can accept responsibility for it, and then move forward and move ahead and be productive. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As you guys can tell from my red shirt, my wife is actually a Marine Corps veteran. I just realized both Carlos and Robert are Marine Corps veterans as well. So I'm looking at the picture of Robert in the background. My wife's got that same style of photo. So you look just as handsome as you did today as you did when you took that photograph. So congratulations.
Robert, you were nodding a lot. Jason, I'm sorry, Judge, were you trying to say something just now, Judge Long?
No, other than I think what Carlos just said is entirely correct. And Robert's story, I don't know how long ago you were in trouble, but from where you are now, it probably seems like ages, but you seem like you're in you're a great point in your life. I don't remember one of these military philosophers used to always say that an army marches on its stomach. And so we can have these high level goals for people, but I think Carlos and I think Robert, what you said was entirely accurate. It is the basics that people need to start building their lives: housing, cell phone service, logistics, a place to start from. They want to get to the point we described, but it's that getting the fundamentals together. If you're hungry all the time, you don't know where you're going to eat. That is something that affects how you can work. And so I think when you said, Robert, the most important thing is getting housing, a roof over your head. It's amazing how much that affects us. My mom this is kind of an aside, but this taught me how this really is true. My father passed away a couple of months ago, and my mom has been living with my sister, and then she also stays with me. But she told me she doesn't really feel like she has a place of her own yet. And I think, my sister has a beautiful home, and I have a beautiful home, for us. But unless you feel like you have home, whatever part of your life you're in, you don't feel fully comfortable. And so I think for veterans and people who are in that situation, if they don't feel like they have a home that they can start from, then it's really it's hard for them to begin. We had a situation yesterday with our veteran court docket, where a veteran just talking about how he didn't have a place to stay, and we immediately during the docket try to contact places for him to live, because if you don't have a base, you don't have a way to start. So I think those little bits, and Carlos, I'm so glad you talked about teaching these kids about, and I say kids, but these young guys who think that they should start their $30 an hour bit. When I tell you, man, when I was in high school, I worked in a restaurant, and I think people are willing to do that kind of grunt work, and put the time in to get to the point where you're doing a lot of stuff, you get more money. Those are the people who are going to be successful than the people who are trying to start at the top at the very beginning. But so thank you for your work, and Robert, thank you for your work too. I know that getting that stuff together is great.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I was appreciating how much when you both were talking, Robert's head was just like, yeah. Because Robert, tell them, you were talking earlier about how you took, because especially when Carlos said those hard choices, you explained, you were saying earlier, you went the hard route and you said that's how you got where you are now. Yes, you didn't go the easy route, you said.
No, I took the hard route. I did a lot of planning before I was released. So I knew once upon my release, I knew that I needed to get my ID. I knew that I needed to get my driver's license. I knew I needed to find employment. I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to go to utilizing the HUD VAS through the career recovery. I was able to get me a hotel for 45 days. So they were able to compensate me a hotel for 45 days. I utilized that time right there to be able to find employment. I was able to find employment with a company called Daikin. I worked with Daikin for almost about 3 weeks. And then they had rescinded on my job offer because of my background. At that time, I knew then and there that I didn't want to continue to have to keep going through those same hurdles over and over again as far as finding employment, and then they looking at doing my background report and then rescinding on the job offer or terminating my employment. So what I did was I started working another contract temporary job, and in every single check that I got from that job, I utilized that into buying me a pressure washer. Then I started getting all of the hoses and equipment I needed. I mean, I just every check I bought something new. And I did that till I got to the point where I was able to do my first job. And then I started just graduating slowly but surely, spending my money properly, investing back into the business, and it has grown tremendously. But was it easy? No, it wasn't. It was very, very hard. There were many times that I wanted to give up, but I knew that, you know, well, I lost my father when I was incarcerated. So when I lost my father, I knew that I wanted to be able to make him proud. So that has been the motivating factor that has driven me to the point where I'm at right now. And because of that, and all of the support that I have gotten since I've been home, working with the reentry program with Jennifer and with Shanti, and working with yourself and Jake, it's been great. And I want to continue to keep working with you guys. And I know that, you know, it'll continue to get even better.
You know, it's one important thing to mention that when people are coming out of jail, because you made a very good point. You said the pre-planning, I need to get my ID. If you are arrested without your ID, which happens a lot, your first thing is very hard to get housed without identification card. And when you come out of incarceration, you don't have it. So that is very important fact. No phone, no ID, and you probably not get back into the place where the ID was. So you have to then go and get a brand new one. So that's something to say pre-planning and versus where you're going to stay. Pre-planning, you have to get an ID first. So it's a lot about, again, goes to housing. Sorry, did you raise your hand, Robert? I was still yet talking.
Yeah, no, that's definitely important, is having an ID. I mean, once you get released from prison, or you get released from jail, and if you don't have anywhere to go, if you don't have that identification, then you can't even check into a room, because it's just, you need your ID for everything. So that's very important, that a person coming out of prison or jail needing to have, going back into society.
Did you get yours from? Where did you get yours from? Did you go to Operation ID?
No, I had to jump through a whole bunch of hula hoops. I had to go and get my birth certificate, and then from getting my birth certificate, then I had to go and get my ID. And then it was all during COVID and stuff like that too. It was a bunch of red tape that I had to jump through. It was difficult, but I was able to get it done.
I had you state that because I don't know if the audience is aware of how coming out of incarceration, what has to be done. I know several organizations that house people who are coming out of homelessness, and one of the prerequisites is you need your birth certificate. I once asked a staff member I said, you're completely housed, right? Right. Do you have your birth certificate? Does everyone on this call right now have a birth certificate that you know you can lay hands on?
I do.
Mine's in Vietnam.
I do.
But it is usually at least one or two that don't, and then to have that as a prerequisite to be housed, that's much. That is much. So there's a lot of difficulties, and that's the importance of pre-planning. I think pre-planning to get services. We can't go into jails right now because of COVID, but to get the services online and now being able to put it through a video. It's not a call. It's actually a video, a Zoom call into the jails. I think it'll do a lot.
I think you're absolutely correct on that.
Guys, I really just want to say thank you to each of you. Lucy, did you want to? Sorry, I had these wonderful gentlemen just going at it, talking some great information. Do you have anything you wanted to say? I know you've done extensive work with veterans yourself. So if you have anything to say.
I have, and along the way, I've learned a lot. And, you know, the veterans that I face, as you know, some of them wanting to give up, some of them feeling they don't belong. Some of them have no purpose, they feel. But one thing I did learn, and especially just as I continue my work with the veterans and with you, Valerie, by my side, is the fact that as long as they feel supportive, like Robert's mentioned, you know, who he has that has lifted him up, it is important to give back to these veterans and not place judgment on what they've done, but instead give them a slate to where, look at that cutie pie, where, you know, they feel important and they feel valued and there is a purpose. And I know that together, everybody on this call must feel the same compassion, the same energy level to change people's lives. And that's just by giving them a chance. You know, knowledge is power. And it's not that they can't learn. Maybe they didn't have a need to know what they know now. And for us to provide that, to me, is just absolutely incredible. And I will continue helping our veterans and continue giving them the support they need by connecting the dots with the community leaders on this call. So thank you, Val. Hi, Cutie. We have a Cutie ambassador on the phone. He needs to be VAST ambassador.
What is his name? Oh, wait.
This is my son Daniel.
He's cute. How old are you, Daniel? How old are you?
You're doing my headpiece on. He is going to turn 3 in about 2 months.
3 years old.
Wow. Ambassador, that's all.
He's a VAST ambassador. Look at that cutie pie right there.
All right. Hey, I just wanted to also bring up that if you have a message for the organizations out there, there's some really large ones that believe that the best way to help in reentry is to give the veterans exiting the jail 7 or 8 pamphlets, booklets with resources in them, with 2 other pieces of paper with a lot of resources. How do you feel for somebody walking out of jail who has maybe 100 resources in their hand in their little baggie? What do you think the best way is when a person leaves the jail? What do you think they should be armed with? Which resources are urgently important to them?
Well, you know, and I'll say this: I think the most important part of what VAST is really identifying those resources that truly provide resources. I think that there's a lot of people, a lot of organizations that want to provide resources and don't necessarily have the resources to do that, right? So with VAST going in there and actually talking to these individuals and identifying who is great to provide those resources, I think is huge. And I think, you know, going back, I think housing is probably, from what I'm gathering from this call, housing is the most important resource. And if I had to guess, I would say transportation is probably the second most important.
Outstanding. Listen, I just want to say y'all are just a tremendous bunch. I am so proud to be serving alongside of you in VAST. Judge Long, Carlos, Adaptive Construction Solutions, Lucy Gonzalez, Robert Green. We're too proud of you. We are too proud. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It was very nice. Thank you for having us, Valerie.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll be seeing each other on Zoom calls into the jails in the next 2 weeks.